WNST, Taos season and getting ready for the Orioles off season. And, of course, the Terps up in New York doing the pinstripe thing up there at Yankee Stadium against Rutgers. We are headed to Nashville, the scene of many crimes, including the spear and the banshee of Brian Billick from 2 decades ago. I shared some funny Zubaz pants with everyone out there on Facebook and Twitter from my younger years. This lady has been covering sports out in the Nashville area for a long, long time. She's one of our defending champs around here. She does it for the Associated Press. You can read her work out at WNST.net, as well as follow her Twitter out at Teresa M. Walker. That's Teresa with no H on it. She's got a lovely 50-yard line view of last year's Super Bowl, so I know we were in the same place at the same time. We welcome Teresa Walker back on from the Music City. How's it going down there, man? They got like $500 hotel rooms down there this weekend. Must be a lot of purple coming down there, huh?
What can I say? Nashville is it city, as dubbed by the New York Times a couple of years ago, and it just keeps going. I mean, there's hotels going up left and right, but the demand for Nashville has kind of become, forget country music city or anything like that, it's become bachelor and bachelorette party city. So, everybody's coming to Nashville all the time to have a really good time. And anyone coming to Nashville this weekend, you'll look for the pedal taverns. Yes, that's a Nashville thing. You can just bike around town, drink booze, drink beer to music, and you'll hear lots of people going, woo! That's our thing right now.
Well, I tell you what, we're going to be down at Piranha's in downtown Nashville, right around where everyone's going, woo, between 2nd and Broadway, right around the corner there. So we'll be there Friday and Saturday. And, the Titans have had a couple weeks off. The Ravens have had a little extra time off now. We're trying to figure Joe Flacco out and hopeful for him. But you guys have had your own quarterbacking issue down there with health and hamstrings and Mariota. And I guess the offseason, I think I heard more about the Titans, maybe the Buccaneers as well, than any other team. And obviously because of the quarterbacks. But there was optimism there all off season, and I guess out on the field it's kind of coming to its head right now to say, well, the Colts are falling apart. Houston hasn't looked so great. This could be the Titans' division this year, but this is the kind of game that, historically they haven't won this game at home against the Ravens. This is where they have to turn the corner to become a 10-win team this year.
Well, absolutely. I mean, USA Today back in the summer picked the Titans to go 12-4. So there's a lot of attention been given to the Titans, and they've not exactly met up to that. Now, in 3 of their 4 wins, they've scored over 33 points and looked to be all that everyone was expecting, but there was an ugly 57 points that they gave up in a loss at Houston when Deshaun Watson really started going off on opponents. And then Marcus hurt his hamstring. He didn't finish the game, missed the last 2 quarters, missed the loss in Miami. He showed that he could stay in the pocket, trying to protect that leg to beat the Colts. Now that they're coming off their bye, the Titans believe he is 100%. They think that they've gotten healthy finally. The Titans have been without a very key piece to this offense that they were expecting this year. Corey Davis, the first wide receiver taken 5th overall out of Western Michigan. He played against Oakland, but a hamstring that he had, they try to be very careful with him through the preseason. He didn't do anything after hurting that in the opening week of the preseason, or training camp rather, and he comes back for the opener, had 6 catches, looked really good, but they were being cautious. Well, the next week he aggravates the hamstring, and he missed the next 5 games with the bye week, 6 weeks out. And now they're waiting to see how much can they get out of him this weekend when they play the Ravens. He was expected to be a huge piece of this offense. Now they're finally getting him back. Can't wait to see what he does for Marcus Mariota and the rest of this offense.
Well, people here are laughing because you're like, hey, one piece. Well, I mean, that's our Perryman. That's our Wallace. We had Macklin. We've lost Yonder for the year. We've lost Alex Lewis for the year. We've lost 2 tight ends. It really has been an incredible year, I think, for injuries. I do look at the Titans and say they've stayed relatively healthy versus the league when you consider there is no J.J. Watt in Houston. There is no Andrew Luck in Indianapolis right now. So, I think for the Titans, part of the health thing has been what has served them well. One of the things, I've talked to a lot of folks this week, who's their best football player, Teresa? I look down and I see names I recognize. I know Delaney Walker's been there a period of time. I know Casey's been there for some time. But who's the best player on the Titans?
Well, it's Marcus Mariota. I mean, it's only because, yes, he is the quarterback, but, he does so much with his legs, with his arm. They count on his legs being available to be a big piece of this offense. And him being limited to just a passer, you can really kind of see the effect. I mean, they beat the Cleveland Browns 12-9 in overtime, and him not being able to run was a huge, huge issue, and them not being able to get more points on the board. So now that said, they have some injury issues this week. Delaney Walker, bone bruise in the ankle. They at first thought that maybe it was a sprained ankle. Well, it's a bone bruise, but it's a pain tolerant situation. Will he be able to go? We're going to have to wait and see. And then starting left guard, Quentin Spain, he's got turf toe. And anyone who's had a toe situation, that's very, very painful. So may end up seeing his backup on the field against the Ravens. So those are two key pieces. But that's the thing. This team has got much more talent than they've had in years. Because you mentioned Casey. He's a Pro Bowler. They've got Pro Bowl linebacker Brian Arakpo. Derek Morgan was kind of ignored last year. Well, he's having the best season on the line, having a career year so far to start, and had a career year last year, but he's just quietly, taking advantage. They also have a young safety, and, for people in Baltimore used to seeing some guy up in Pittsburgh named Palomalu, Kevin Byard had 3 interceptions in their last game. He's gotten his hands on 5 turnovers over the last 4 or 5 games. So he's a kid. He had 19 picks in college. He finally seems to be understanding exactly where he needs to be to get his hands on some balls, and I'm curious to see how much he can continue this. He's leading the league last I checked in picks, so he's got a knack for getting his hands on a lot of stuff.
She is Teresa Walker. You can find her out on Twitter at Teresa M. Walker. You can also find her at WNST.net. She is the AP beat reporter in the Nashville area, not just for the Titans, but also does a little bit of Predators, a little bit of NBA Grizzlies as well. And all of this, of course, we're going to meet everyone down in Nashville on Friday and Saturday at our place. It's going to be called Piranhas. It's a local establishment and sports bar down there. It's huge. We've had some fun down there in the past with the owners, so we're looking forward to that on Friday and Saturday. Tell me about those donut burgers they have down there. I'm thinking, I got to get the hot chicken and donut burgers. That's all we need in Nashville. This segment of our programming brought to you by King Discount Liquors. Lottery, beer, booze, and the best prices in Baltimore out on Pulaski Highway. Get on out to Rosedale and give the King a ring. Teresa, you mentioned Byard, and Dick LeBeau, I think he's about 95 right now. He's been looking to beat us in our own division for the better part of 25 years as a head coach and a D coordinator at Cincinnati and Pittsburgh and other places. Apparently, he's taking a real shine to this Byard kid, and more than that, he's a local guy, right? Mid-Tennessee State. I mean, he's an interesting local story there for college football fans in your part of the world. Love a local story. They're still waiting for Peyton to come back, right?
There are definitely some people waiting for Peyton to come back, if only to go coach his alma mater, the University of Tennessee. But you're right on Byard. Played at Middle Tennessee, so the Titans were able to watch him grow up and watch him, and they took him with the first pick of the 3rd round last year. And he finished the season as a rookie, starting the final 7 games. And it allowed them to get rid of a couple of veterans. They brought in a guy named Rashad Johnson. Well, Byard made it okay for them to just let him go, and it's been his job, and he kind of quarterbacks that secondary, a secondary that they revamped this year with Logan Ryan from the Patriots. They went out and drafted Adoree Jackson from Southern Cal, and all he's done is he's also a kick returner, punt returner. We're kind of waiting for him to take a kickoff back for a touchdown. He's had a couple. Unfortunately, penalties have wiped them both out. So one of these days he's going to get one that actually stands. But with Byard, he's kind of overseeing everything back there. And yes, Dick LeBeau, the former the Hall of Fame cornerback himself, who's he's not quite in his 90s yet, but he did turn 80 this season.
He is 80. Okay, good. I was going to say, because he was like 77 for a long time, as I remember, but that was 3 years ago.
I know. Well, sometimes you get on that number and you just want to sit for a while.
He's an incredible guy, right? I mean, like, literally. I mean, of all the people around football, a guy that literally has touched everybody, to Hallis almost, right? I mean, literally, he's been around forever.
He has. I mean, when you think about the football, someone last year joked and was asking him, did you play at the first Detroit Thanksgiving game? And he goes, I'm not that old. But that's the thing. You would think that some of these young players will come in and say, Dick LeBeau, he's just some old guy. No. These young men, they do their homework. And I've talked to him. They say, no. I found out that he was a Hall of Famer. And when they love to listen to his stories because, think about it. He was playing in the, through the 60s, 70s, and he's been coaching ever since. He's been around and has seen and done so much. He's got stories that you could listen to for weeks, and these players do that, and so they hang on every word he says, and they follow everything he tells them to do.
She is Teresa M. Walker out on Twitter as well as at the Associated Press. You can also find her out at pro32.ap.org and at WNST.net for all things preview of the Titans this week. Teresa, I'm assuming they're just going to run the football, right? I mean, this Mariota hamstring situation, certainly the Ravens have been very stout at stopping the run certain weeks and very awful other weeks. Usually that relates to Brandon Williams being in the game. I saw him out at Matt Stover's cornhole event on Monday night looking pretty stout, and he looked pretty good against Miami in his second game back. I would say that this 1-2 punch of Murray and Henry is as good of a double-headed back as we're going to see in this league. And certainly, I go back SEC with Derrick Henry, and I've talked about this all week. I really thought he was going to be kind of a special guy in the NFL because of his size, because of his power, because of the ability to run away at his size. And I know you're from that part of the world. I always sort of compare him to Jamal Lewis, although I know he's bigger than Jamal Lewis.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, the Titans got him with their third pick in the second round last year, almost a bonus, so to speak, in the draft last year. And the one thing Mike Mularkey refused to do this year was, DeMarco Murray is absolutely the starter. He's their top guy, and his pass protection skills kind of give him the edge still in that area. But right now, the splits the carries are almost perfectly split between Murray and Henry. So they're giving Henry an awful lot of work, and he's almost kind of earned the fourth quarterback situation because he can run guys down. You watch the Indianapolis Colts game, he got that 72-yard touchdown run. The Colts did not want to go tackle him. He's just so big. At times you can see him, he almost looks a little small going through there, but then you see him running down the field.
By the way, the guys at Vanderbilt and Tennessee and Georgia and Mississippi, nobody wanted to tackle him in college. I mean, it was very obvious,
Absolutely. He is just big, and he is heavy, and he's not a guy you want to hit, especially in the second half. So very curious to see. Got to think that, of course, they're going to want to run. That is, exotic smash mouth, as Mike Mularkey termed it. It all stems around the run and being able to run the ball. So that's why you expect them to try to run. But I have to admit, with Corey Davis coming back, don't be too surprised if they throw the ball because, that's one area that Marcus Mariota's got to do a better job at, and that's getting the ball going down in the air. They're 26th passing the ball right now. That's not going to cut it. Mariota has as many interceptions as he does touchdowns with the number 4 right now, and that's just, at some point you are going to have to start throwing. So, but, let's face it, Henry and Murray, you're going to run.
Teresa Walker is a 2-time Tennessee Sports Writer of the Year at the Associated Press. You can follow her, Teresa M. Walker, out on Twitter. Our party's going to be down in Nashville at Piranha's on Friday and Saturday. We hope to see you down there. Also want to give a reminder and a shout-out to everybody about our sponsor, D&L Window Tinting. 26 years of tinting everything. Cars, boats, businesses. They put the shades on the sun. They take the squint away. They're over in Parkville and in White Marsh. Get on over and see Jason and our crew at D&L Window Tinting. Mike Mularkey been running this show here, and I guess things have changed. How many years on the beat for you in Nashville? You've been there almost from the beginning, right?
I have been. I interviewed Jeff Fisher in a dorm room on the Tennessee State campus after they'd had the moving trucks come from Houston to Tennessee back in '97. So I've covered this team from the start. This is my 21st season.
Well, and I remember it's been a long time, but the whole genesis of the town and me being a Nashville Predator fan, which I think you knew my relationship with Barry Trotz all these years, and of course he's back here in D.C. now. But I've been coming to Nashville forever. It was 20 years ago. It felt like the Titans were the thing people did on Sunday if they weren't too hungover after the Vols game, and the Predators as well. That's hockey, and we're trying to figure that out. And the country music stars, sort of found their way there, and Garth Brooks and Carrie Underwood and all that stuff, and Trotz's relationships. But I come in there now, it feels like such a mature town as far as how it's grown up, how the sports have grown up around it. I mean, I remember when you guys were trying to steal the New Jersey Devils and move them next to the church there, but you couldn't serve alcohol because of the church fire. I mean, I go back way deep into the Wayback Machine with Nashville before they had a team. Now it's a 2-sport town, big sports. Predators had that mess going on there in June that lasted the better part of a month that everyone was a little hungover from. And now the Titans, I think, are ramping it back up with a quarterback they want to build around. I do find it fascinating to see a town that had no pro sports 2 decades ago. Now you come in and, I definitely feel like the Tennessee Volunteers thing, I don't want to say that slipped into the, to the background, but I feel like the Titans are much more relevant and people hurt a little bit more when they lose than probably they did 20 years ago.
Well, absolutely. Now, I will say this: when 2008 was the last time they made the playoffs, and it's hurt since then. They had that 2-year period where they had just 5 wins, worst in the NFL, and then Mike Mularkey takes over, on an interim basis, and now this is his second full season. They're trying. They had a mess to clean up, and there were a lot of Titan fans that kind of put them on the back burner. It's like, okay, you get good again, then I'll care. And I think they're still a little bit in that mode right now. Even though the Titans are 4-3, if the playoffs started today, they'd be in. But they want to see them finish. A year ago they started to get excited, and Titans controlled their destiny, and they go to Jacksonville on Christmas Eve, and Marcus breaks his leg, and they lose the game, and made the 9-7 finish almost just didn't seem to matter as much. So right now, let's face it, the Predators have spoiled sports fans in this town. They want to see winners, and they want to see a team that can not only win, but, get to the point where they can play for titles. And, and especially with the Predators targeting a Stanley Cup again next June, they've got a challenge ahead of them. And that's what makes this game against Baltimore so crucial, because they've got this 2-game winning streak going on. They're kind of touring through the AFC North at the moment. After Baltimore, Cincinnati visits, and then there's a Thursday night trip to Pittsburgh. This is a crucial month for the Titans. The Titans have some high expectations of themselves. They say they think they can do a lot, particularly on offense, and they think they've only kind of scratched the surface there. That's why the return of Davis is going to be so crucial to help them maybe get more into the playbook of what they want to do. But it's time for them to start showing what they think they are and what everyone for all this year thought they could be.
Teresa, any thoughts on the Flacco hit to the head last week and that sort of play? I still look at it and say, if that's any quarterback, if that's Tom Brady, if that's Aaron Rodgers, people go crazy. I don't know that the internet went crazy on that play, but I think when a quarterback is hook sliding and is truly defenseless because he believes he can't be hit or can't be hit at that level, I think it was a gruesome thing. I'm shocked there hasn't been a little bit more outrage on it, to be honest with you.
Well, absolutely. I mean, trust me, here in Tennessee, they've seen quarterbacks treated like that and not even get penalties. Marcus Mariota got hit late by Richard Sherman the third week of the season, and it ended up being dueling unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, essentially do-over, and fans were unhappy at that. And, so I think, there is some truth to what you're saying. When your quarterback slides, under NFL rules, they've given themselves up. You're not supposed to hit them. And when you go in and hit a guy and his helmet comes off and he looks as dazed and confused as Flacco was, and you've got a little bit of blood and everything, that is a bad situation. And, I'm waiting to see, does the NFL, got to think of fines coming. Now, do they do anything more than a fine?
That's got to be more than 15 yards, right? I mean, if that's 15 yards, we're going to do that to Mariota. Everybody's going to be doing that to a quarterback if that's 15 yards and, oh, my bad. I mean, that's the most egregious play in all of sports to me, right? I mean, as much as like beaning a batter would be from a pitcher, at least the batter can duck, right? I mean, in this particular case, I just thought it was as gruesome a thing as I've seen in all the years of covering football around here to see a quarterback get his head taken off like that, which is exactly what the league is trying to frown upon, So that's what I thought, like, dude, you're gone for a month, and that's going to be $100,000, I thought that would be as outlandish a thing as you would see on a field, other than swinging a helmet and hitting somebody in the head, something, truly violent outside of after the whistle. But within the confines of whistle to whistle, I can't think of a thing that I've ever seen that's worse than that.
Well, I saw Albert Hainsworth take his foot over Andre Giroud's head, which is about as bad as you can get, too, because that could have been very, very bad. You got to think there's a fine, because if you don't do that, I know there's some people making an argument that maybe Flacco should have split a little earlier, but that's that tough line. The rule says, quarterbacks who slide are protected from being hammered. And, that's what it makes. If there's not a fine, you're kind of right. Does that make it open season on quarterbacks? There's going to be a lot of defensive players that says, well, it only costs 15 yards. I'll take that for the risk of maybe knocking a quarterback out of a game.
She is Teresa M. Walker out on Twitter. She's also at the Associated Press. All of her work appears at WNST.net as part of that. And you got Predators fever down there, don't you, Teresa?
Well, it was a lot of fun to cover my first Stanley Cup final. I will admit that.
It was a lot of fun just watching the mess from the webcam out on Broadway every night. I mean, just seeing that energy there, because I know that energy. I remember I was at the first ever playoff game down there when Trotzy got him in there about 5 years into their existence, which is almost 15 years ago now. And I remember it just being really spectacular and so much energy there for all of that. I can't imagine 2 months of that. It must have been a good time.
It was amazing. I mean, they had watch parties for the games that were on the road and the ones that, and then people who wanted to just be downtown for the home playoff games. I'll say this, during the final, especially before Game 3 when Alan Jackson was playing a little mini concert out on Broadway, I tried to go out there and get a feel for the crowd. I made it just about as far as the door to Wolfie's, which is right across the street from the arena. I couldn't go any further. People were, packed like sardines, and luckily everyone was in a great mood, even though it was a hot June day. Everybody just wanted to be down there and have a good time, and it was amazing. And I'll tell you this, the Titans, they took up the offensive line, Mariota. They were there for a couple of games. A lot of Titans came to games, and they talked very publicly about wanting to follow that. This is great. This was amazing how people turned out, but this is hockey in the South. Can you imagine what would happen when we win? So that's one of the things driving them. They want to see this town turn out for them the way they did for the Predators.
She is Teresa M. Walker. She's one of our great guests around here. You can follow her work at the Associated Press and, of course, out on Twitter for all things Nashville. We're coming down to Piranha's on Friday and Saturday. They're talking about, donut burgers down there, Teresa. They got the hot chicken going on down there. I'll be over at the Pancake Pantry creating trouble over in the West End, so it's going to be a good weekend. I always love coming down to Nashville. So does my wife. It's her first time down since 2 leukemia battles, so she's all ready for some country music and some ice-cold libations and some good football in the morning on Sunday. We'll see you down there on Sunday, Teresa. Thanks for coming on.
My pleasure, and I tell you, it looks like the weather forecast looks like it's going to be a gorgeous weekend.
We need a gorgeous weekend. That's what we need. We'll be down there this weekend. It'll be good times. We'll see you down there the second we get there. Early morning on Sunday, playing at noon Central Time. So I'm looking forward to it. Teresa M. Walker out at the Associated Press. You can find me out on the BuyAToyota.com audio vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We do come in crystal clear from wherever you happen to be. Our morning newspaper delivers to your email inbox digitally and free of charge each and every morning at 7 a.m. It's all brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. For me, Nasty at WNST.net finds me. I'll be on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, probably doing some Facebook Live from Nashville as well. I'm sneaky like that, as well as our YouTube channel. You can all see all of our work out there. And last but never least, if there's any breaking news on the Joe Flacco situation, playing, not playing, hopes to play, we all know that. We heard Harb say that earlier in the week. You'll get it first on the WNST Tech Service. That's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard, and Dennis Kolatzis will be here on Thursday, driving you home, getting you ready for the weekend. From 3 until 5 every Thursday, it is the SSV on WNST. Want to remind you the best place to get crab cakes in Harford County is Box Hill Crab Cakeria. They call it a pizzeria. Don't let them fool you. Make sure you get the dressing there, too, the salad dressing. We get it in the bottles, and we bring it home like 3, 4, 5 at a time. Don't be shy about that. You'll see what I'm talking about. A little anchovy in the dressing makes it special. It's Box Hill Pizzeria. You can ship those crab cakes even to Nashville at boxhillpizzeria.com. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.